So today, we're going to tackle a really cool question. We all know AI can see pictures, but can we actually teach it to understand the world more like a human does? We're about to dive into some amazing research that's trying to do just that, to bridge the gap between artificial vision and our own minds.
All right, to really get what I'm talking about, let's kick things off with a little puzzle. The question is simple. Which one of these is the odd one out? Now, for you and me, the answer is probably instant. But for an AI, well, its choice isn't so clear, and the answer it gives reveals this huge, fascinating blind spot in how it sees the world.
Okay, so here is where it gets really interesting. It's all about the why. You almost certainly picked the church, right? Because it's a building, and the others are animals. You used an abstract, high-level category. But a lot of these super powerful AI models, they'd likely pick one of the fish, getting totally hung up on surface-level details like its color, its texture, maybe even the specific shape of its fins.
And this one little test, it just perfectly highlights this massive difference. Even our best state-of-the-art vision models often fail to generalize knowledge the way we do. They can see the pixels for sure, but they don't always grasp the deeper conceptual structure of the world. So how do we go about fixing this AI blind spot? Well, first, we've got to understand this kind of invisible mental framework that we humans use to make sense of, well, everything we see. It's something we do completely automatically, without even thinking twice about it. And that framework is called a conceptual hierarchy. You can think of it like a mental filing system that lets us organize the entire world, going from really specific things up to really broad categories. And this, right here, is a critical piece of the puzzle that AI has missing. And this is a perfect example of how it works. We just know, instantly, that a specific golden retriever is a type of dog, and a dog is a type of animal. We just fly up and down these levels of abstraction without any effort at all. But for standard AI models, that intuitive big picture view just isn't there. And that's the bottom line, really. Without this kind of global, hierarchical map of how things relate to each other, AI models can be incredibly brittle. They make these strange, non-human-like mistakes because they're lost in the details, with no understanding of the broader context. All right, so that's the problem. Now let's get to the really exciting part, the solution. We're going to look at how researchers came up with this incredibly elegant method to teach AI this human-like way of thinking, to basically give it a copy of our mental filing system. They built this thing called the AligNet framework, and it's a really clever three-step process. First, they take a powerful AI and make it a teacher. They do this by training it to mimic human choices from a small set of examples. Then, this new teacher model goes and creates a massive new data set. We're talking 10 million examples, all labeled with this new human-like logic. And finally, they use that huge data set to train other AI models, the students, basically distilling all that human-aligned structure into them. So, great idea on paper, right? But the real question is, did it actually work? The researchers put these new alignment models to the test to see if they really did start to see the world less like a machine and more like us. And the results, wow, they are just night and day. On that same odd one out task we started with, the original AI model only agreed with humans about 36% of the time. But after the aligned training, its accuracy rocketed up to 66%. Get this, that's even slightly better than the average agreement between two humans, which is around 62%. Yeah, just let that sink in for a second. The aligned AI was better at capturing the consensus of human judgment than a single typical person. It basically learned the average human perspective, filtering out all the weird quirks and disagreements we have with each other. And it gets even better. It's not just about getting the right answer. The aligned models also learned when to be uncertain. So on really tough problems where human might hesitate and say, I'm not sure, the AI showed less confidence too. This kind of calibration is a huge, huge step towards making AI that we can actually rely on and trust. Okay, so now for the million-dollar question. It's awesome that the AI thinks more like us, but does giving it this human-like structure actually make it better at its day job? At the core machine learning tasks it was built for? And the answer is a resounding yes. When they tested it on tough machine learning benchmarks, especially those where the AI has to deal with new data it hasn't seen before, the aligned models showed major improvements. Performance just jumped from 65% to a much, much more robust 78%. In some cases, the performance gains were just off the charts. The researchers saw a maximum relative improvement of 123% on some tasks. This is just incredible proof that giving an AI a human-like conceptual structure makes it way more robust and adaptable. So what does this all mean in the real world? Well, it leads to some huge practical benefits. We're talking about AI that can learn from way less data, that doesn't just fall apart when it sees something unexpected, and that's harder to fool with those tricky adversarial images. In short, it just becomes more reliable and more predictable. You know, the researchers themselves put it perfectly. By teaching the models to think more like us, they created what they call a best of both worlds representation. It's more consistent with how we see the world, and it's more practically useful. It is a true win-win. This whole breakthrough just opens up such an exciting new path, doesn't it? It suggests that the future of AI isn't just about throwing more data or bigger computers at the problem. It's about a smarter kind of alignment with the very principles of human thinking. And that is a huge step toward building an AI that doesn't just calculate, but one that can reason in a way that we can finally understand, trust, and truly collaborate with.